Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Professor West. In this section we're going to talk about page breaks, we're going to talk about headers and footers, and page numbers. So each one won't take but a minute or so, and I'm just going to jump right in. So a page break is when you want something to start on the next page. So right now I've still got up my part of my cover letter. But let's say instead, let's imagine for just a second, let me copy a little bit of this text. Let's imagine for just a second that this was actually some kind of a report that I was writing, and I needed the section here to be on the next page. So you have a couple choices. You could hit the enter key a bunch of times and move it down like that. But that's not recommended, because if you move it all the way down to the top of the next page, and then later you decide to add another little bit up here somewhere, then it would add all those. It might end up with this next part being halfway down the next page before you realize it. So instead, what we do is we go to Insert, and what do you think? Pages, and click Page Break. And make sure you have the cursor where you want it. I wanted it at the beginning of this paragraph. So now, even if I typed a whole bunch more, this is still going to be at the top of a page. If I'm typing on this other one and it comes down and keeps going and it spills onto this page, then this will move down to the next page. This, no matter what happens, this is going to start at the top of a page now. So that's pretty great. Let's see. Next thing we can do, if you go to Layout, you can go to Breaks. And there's actually different kinds of breaks that you could choose from. Page break's what we just did. A column break is if you have like 2 columns of stuff and you want it to kind of break from one to the next. Section breaks, we'll get to that later. So, but I just wanted you to be aware that you could come here. While I'm at it, let me show you how to remove a page break. Because you can't just, like I hit the backspace here. It's hard to remove a page break if you don't know where it is. So let me show you. Let me put that back in. I'll just hit the undo button. If you come to, let's see, I think it's Layout. Oh, maybe it's Design. Insert. There it is. If you click the Home tab and you come over here to this one that almost looks like a music note or something, and it pops up with this little window that says Show Hide. If you do that, it shows everything that you've done here. This little symbol here means that you've hit the return key after. Here's where my page break is, so you can put the cursor there and hit the delete key and just remove it. Makes it a lot easier to see and remove them. If I had several times where I hit the enter key or the return key, then you would see a lot of these. Let me get rid of those. To turn it off, just click it again and it's gone. So let's jump right into headers and footers now. A header is at the very top of the page. Right now, this is as far up as I can go. I can't go higher because anything up higher than this would be in the header. The footer is the same thing at the very bottom of the page. There's several different ways you can access this. The easiest is to double click up here. And when you do, it opens the header and footer bar up here on the ribbon. And you can type your stuff up here. A lot of times people type their own information in the header. Like if this is my resume, I might put my information up here and then have the resume itself start down here. Headers and footers will print, so it's very important that you understand that. Whatever you put up here will print when you print this document. Let's see. All of this stuff here is related to the header. I could type in, I could put my name, Brian West, blah blah blah. I could put anything I want up here. I could also, let me delete that. If you want to get out of here, you can either click right here where it says close the header and footer, or let me go back in, or I could just double click down here somewhere. And then that brings me back to the body of the page. The next thing I could do, if I don't want to double click up here, is I could go to insert. And right here we have headers and footers. Now this will actually give you some more options. So if I click header here, it's going to give me lots of different choices of how I want the header to look. And I could pick any of these. Let's say I pick this one here with this orange bar. Well, that's going to be there now for me to type my document title. Let's say this is Brian's resume. Notice how it's all in caps. That's because that's just how that particular header is. I did not hold down the caps lock. I actually tried to do it right, but it still came up like that. You can always pick a different one if you want. And let me show you this. When you close it out, so notice how this is grayed out now. That just tells you that you're no longer in that section, you're in the body. If you come back up, it's more brighter, and this part down here is grayed out. So let's say I decide I want to get rid of this completely. I could go back to my header, and let's see, where was that? And insert header. I could choose a different one. Maybe I decided I'd rather have this kind of header. So that gives me the options to have 3 things. There's a lot of different choices here. And it's really good to play around with them and just figure out what you might like. Because a lot of this is going to be just personal choice. And the footers work the exact same way. They're just at the bottom. Anytime you're in the header, the footer is also available. So I could just come down here and type in whatever I want. And the last thing I need to teach you real quick is page numbers. Let me get off of this. So if I want to go to insert, and if I come down and tell it page number, see how it says header and footer with it. I can tell it at the top of the page, at the bottom of the page, page margins, current position. I can do all these different choices. I'm going to do it at the top. And I have all these choices. This one will put the page number at the left for some reason, and the center for some reason, and the right. That's typically, whether it's at the header or the footer, it's typically going to be on the right. So that just has a 1 here. If I come down to, oops, let me get out of that. Let me come down and add my page break back in here. Notice that now this page automatically has a 2. And every page is just going to number appropriately from there. Now I could go back in here and tell it with the page numbers, I want to format the page numbers. And you can do it with chapter numbers or however you'd like to do it. And you can even tell it to, like right now it's set to continue from the previous, so right now I'm on page 1, then the next is page 2 and 3. But I could tell it to start at, like if I wanted this to later be inserted into something else, maybe I'm making a manual for work, and this is going to be pages 209, 210. I could tell it to start at and put 209. And now these are 209 and 210. So when I stick those into my document later, they would be accurate. There's a lot of different things you can do with these, and it's just going to take some practice to play around with them. So just do that. Practice a little bit here and there. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.